The Hawai'i Sports Radio Network on 95.1 FM and AM 760 presents Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ule Agbayani.
Good morning, beautiful people. Let's wake up in the den. Ku'ule Agbayani, Paul Brecht, and another very special University of Hawaii football guest joining us in studio this morning. But before we get to his introduction, I need to do the most important thing for today to open the show and wish my beautiful mother, Nalani Agbayani, a very happy birthday. Yay, Mom! Happy birthday, Mom! I love you so much, and I hope you're going to enjoy your day, and I will see you later. Also, I guess I have to say happy birthday to our AC Custodio. He also shares the same birthday with my mom. He handles some of our operations over here as well, so it's his birthday as well.
Good day for good people, then, it sounds like.
Exactly, July 24th. So happy birthday, Mom. Again, I had to start off the show, and that's the most important thing because we love all of our moms. So, all right, but joining us, we've had a couple of great shows from Thursday, Friday, as we're gearing up for camp to start for this upcoming University of Hawaii football season. Joining us in studio today is co-offensive coordinator and tight ends coach Ian Shoemaker. Welcome,
Hello.
Ian.
How's it going?
Good. How are you? How are you doing this morning? Thank you for making the time because I know you got to jet off to a meeting.
We're going to be right back in the meetings and ready to go here pretty quick. So, yeah, it's a tight turn now. We come off of vacation and head into this thing going into Wednesday.
How was vacation, by the way?
It was good. Mostly staycation. You know, we were just here and kind of riding around doing a number of different things and just trying to explore some more of the island and enjoy ourselves and not add to it the travel. Right?
That's true. And now we're gearing up. This week is a huge week, and there's pretty much no days off until hopefully December.
Yeah, hopefully
that bowl game,
clear of Christmas, but we will be rolling every day for from now until then, no doubt.
All right, so our theme so far with our special guest from football has really not been a lot about UH football per se, because I realize a lot of the audience and fans really like to know the personal stories of a lot of our coaches, especially those that don't have that immediate Hawaii tie like half of the coaching staff does. So hence why I wanted to invite all of you guys. This is probably actually like over a year in the making though, because I think I met you first out of everyone not from Hawaii. You were the first one I met because you were at the UH baseball fundraiser. I was like, oh, okay, wow. Meeting one of the coaches. That was a fun night too, but
yes, no doubt.
But no, happy to have you here, and yeah, we'll talk a lot about just where you're from. But first things first. You're from Graham, Washington, which is just about southeast of Tacoma. So tell us a little bit about where you grew up and some of your favorite childhood memories.
Okay, well, I was like I said, out in the middle of nowhere, in the sticks. Grew up small town. I have 3 younger brothers. We all made it to have the opportunity to play college football. So it's kind of a cool deal. I was the oldest of 4 boys. I was 7 years older than my next brother who played at Eastern Washington, 10 years older than my next brother who played at Kenyon College, and then my youngest brother, Eli, played at St. Cloud State. So a couple of those guys followed me a little bit where I was coaching because of the disparity in age and stuff like that. So growing up in the out in the sticks and out in the deal is a little bit wild. We were mostly sports. It was football, baseball, and just trying to keep everybody in line with the 4 boys running around the house. So.
I was going to say that must have been a very active household with 4 boys. But like you said, you're a lot older than some of your younger siblings, but it still must have been, quite quite fun for the parents in the household.
Yeah, no, I think we definitely were a little bit out of control, but I was removed enough, to kind of be, maybe that older big brother that was able to kind of corral and move guys around and, get them out to throw or, go hit baseballs or go play catch or, do some of those things, set up games and those types of deals. And, we had some acreage too. So there was some space to run around where we grew up. So, we're just, like I said, out in the woods and in the foothills of Mount Rainier. So.
So are you a Seattle Seahawks fan?
Grew up a Seattle Seahawks fan, Mariners fan, Sonics, rest in peace, all those things. But
Rumor has it they
Seattle
Seattle might get another
There's
NBA
no
team.
Doubt. There's no doubt. There's no better gear out there than the throwback Sonics gear, hats and T-shirts and stuff like that. Yeah, sad day when they moved to Oklahoma City. But we're hoping that that comes back around.
So who's your favorite Seahawks player?
Probably Kenny Easley. He was amazing kind of growing up and in that time, just how good he was at safety and stuff like that. And, always look at, like Mike with the jerseys and stuff, like that would be the one, right? The Kenny Easley white throwback Seahawks jersey, which it looks like they're bringing back again. Going to get some throwback Seahawks, the city, whatever uniforms. So looking forward to kind of seeing the Seahawks with the old school hawk on the head.
The old school hawk is sick, by the way. Like I've as just a football fan in general, I love seeing all the throwback uniforms. Like the Jets released theirs today and whatnot, but the Seahawks ones when they came out, I was like, why didn't they just keep these? These are awesome. They should have been in them all the way through. I understand like a rebrand or whatever, but oh man, I would understand seeing those again as a Seahawks fan and be like, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I can't wait for all these good throwbacks to come back and shed some light into the game. And also, is it fair to assume though that baseball, we'll talk a lot about, because a lot of people might not know that you are almost equally, I mean, now you're full-time and you've been full-time coaching in football, but a lot of people don't know that you are a big baseball guy and softball, which I'll drop a fun fact for people a little later as well. But when it comes to baseball, would you say Ken Griffey Jr. your favorite, or would it be like a long shot who your favorite Mariners guy is?
Pretty easy, that those years were so special with Kenny, on the football side of things, and then Griffey on the baseball side of things. But like the Jay Buners of the world and Edgar Martinez was amazing. For a right-handed hitter like I was, Edgar Martinez, you might lean in a little bit more to that. Nobody can be as pretty as Griffey when you swing the bat. So especially from the right-hand side of the plate, so it's one of those deals that, Griffey was easy, wear the hat backwards and warm-ups and all that stuff was definitely part of the vibe, no doubt.
He's kind of like the cool kid coming into town that could really ball out. All right, so grew up in Graham, Washington, but then you go to college all the way in Iowa. So how did you find yourself at Grinnell College in Iowa?
Well, it was an academic decision. Coming out of, I wasn't a scholarship guy. I had some walk-on opportunities for baseball. I wasn't a great football player, but I wanted to continue to play both. So the Division III level was a better option for me to kind of play both sports. And really was trying to make an academic decision. And Grinnell is one of the top academic schools in the country year to year, and it was one of those. I didn't even get accepted. I didn't get into school. I had to come off the wait list, and luckily I was high enough on the wait list for baseball and football that they were able to bring me in early off the wait list. But I was going to go to Pacific Lutheran University, which was just 20 minutes from my house, and had a roommate, had paid a deposit on a room, and had done all these things and I was going to go play football and baseball, and play football for the legendary Frosty Westerly, and get a chance to play baseball as well. But the opportunity to go to Grinnell was pretty powerful from an academic side of things.
And you studied psychology, right? Your degree, undergrad anyways, is in psychology. What made you want to pick up psychology?
Well, it was probably because I was not great at the things I was supposed to be good at when I got there. So, I was supposed to be good at math and get into engineering, and I was going to do all these things. I found out pretty quickly that I was not prepared to be at Grinnell College academically. So I had to catch up on some things. I had to find my way around. So the chemistry, the bios and the calculus and things like that have been definitely things that really woke me up, and I was like, wow, you might have to find a different way around it. But I also figured out too that what engineering was going to be, and I was not prepared to kind of be in front of a computer and just kind of be at a desk all day. But now I find out coaching is sitting in front of a computer and being at your desk all day. But that was the impetus of kind of like pivoting off of that and what it really looked like to be involved in physics and the math and things like that. Is I kind of had to make a choice there, and psychology became the home.
It's okay. I thought I was going to study forensics, and then that's what I declared my first year. Looked at the all the stuff you needed to take all the way up to like biochem 3 or something, and I switched to criminology and criminal justice real fast. So I completely understand when you're kind of like the initial shock, like, yeah, I'm going to be real with myself. I actually want to graduate and be able to play, also be able to balance like sports as well. So I 100% get it.
I'm the only one who didn't switch my major apparently in this room.
I guess so.
Oh, gosh. That's all right. You want to be different. You want to
But
be different, right?
you're the only one that's still, well, I guess Coach, he was kind of doing what he's using his degree as well. You still need psychology and coaching as well, but
That's
you're
fair.
the only
That's
one
fair.
doing your sports media degree, you went to school for.
That's
I
fair.
am not.
I was sitting there. I was like, dang, am I the weirdo here? I'm the weird one?
When I talk
think
about
so.
when I talk recruiting with kids and parents, right? It's a lot of the the simple kind of math the analogy to give them is about half the kids we come in contact with kind of know what they want to do academically and have a major in mind. The other half is undecided coming in. They have really no idea. Hey, I got a couple interests and things like that. But I say at least a half of those kids that were pretty distinctly understood what they were going to be and had a major in mind. Another half of those probably changed their major when they're in college. So it's a kind of that 75% of those kids really don't know coming out of high school what they're going to do. There is a select few. There is that 25% that do and stick with it all the way through. But so I try to ease the parents like, well, he's undecided. He doesn't know what he wants to do. That's okay. Most of us or most people going in have that same story.
I think your story is definitely relatable for a lot of people in terms of you have an idea of like, oh, this is fun, this is interesting. I think I could be good at this, and then you get into it, and like you said, when you get into certain programs, you realize like, oh, 'cause especially I'm sure you're somebody who wants to do everything you do at a high level. Like, if you want to do that at a high level, you got to get the baseline and all of that stuff there, and I don't know. It's a lot of work at the higher education level, and sometimes you figure out like, oh, hey, this was cool, but I'm really interested in this. So that goes along with what you're saying. It definitely makes sense that a lot of people change their major pretty often, actually.
No, I think it is. There's about two when you look at once they start changing majors. There's probably about 2 changes along the way. So it's it's an interesting process. Helping guide kids through that. As well. So,
And then you actually did go on to Western Washington to get your MS in Education, Health and Recreation, emphasis in sports psychology. And we got to take a quick time out, but when we come back, we'll talk about your time in Western Washington, including the softball fun fact over there. So as we are joined in studio by Ian Shoemaker, University of Hawaii football co-offensive coordinator and tight ends coach, we'll be back on Wake Up in the Den.
Wake Up in the Den with Kulale Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Kulale Agbayani, Paul Brecht, and our special in-studio guest, University of Hawaii football co-offensive coordinator, tight ends coach, Ian Shoemaker. So we talked a little bit about your time growing up and then going to Grinnell College. And then you go to Western Washington, again, to further your education. But also, so like I mentioned in the beginning of the show, a lot of people may not know, you've been in coaching in football for a very, very long time. But you've also played baseball. And a fun fact, and it was funny because your wife, who we will talk about in just a little bit as well, she was the one that told me about this, that you were on the coaching staff of the Western Washington softball team that won the 1998 NAIA National Championship. So tell us a little bit about your coaching time with softball and baseball before we get into more of the football stuff.
Well, it was, at that time getting into, coaching was not easy. I wasn't a Division I athlete. I didn't have, all those easy ties into graduate school and GA-ships and things like that at bigger, universities and stuff. So when I went to graduate school, it was to go into clinical psychology or go sports psychology. And I was fortunate enough to take a sports psychology class in my undergrad and went like, oh, there's a different way to take this degree, this psychology degree, and work with, athletes and things like that, which obviously, kept me involved in sports. So I went to Western Washington without an opportunity to coach. I got into the sports psychology department. The advisor there and the head of the department there was, with the Olympics, track and field program and stuff like that. So the program was very well known. He had written a number of books and things like that. So getting into that program was the most important thing. Was, hey, I want to get into this really good sports psychology program. And I got there. I took the freshman intro to football class while I'm a graduate student with the head football coach there at Western Washington. And they had just played for a national championship the year before I got there, my graduating senior year. They had played for a national championship at the NAIA level. And so I took the football theory class, right, sitting with all these, players that are, probably a lot of them were, younger than me, but not that much younger because I graduated, in 4 years. And a lot of these guys were using red shirts and, coming off injuries and things like that. But so I sat there, took the class and, talked to the head coach and said, hey, I'll volunteer. I just want to get involved. Give me an opportunity in the spring or whatever. And was able to kind of go through a volunteer for the spring. And then after that spring, they gave me the graduate assistantship for the football side of things. But as a degree area of getting into sports psychology, you had to, work with the team. And, as a coach, I didn't want to use my coaching, opportunity with football. And, so we branched out and they wanted me to do something with softball. So I was doing individual mental training ideas and performance enhancement with the softball team. And a little bit into that, well, you played baseball? I was like, yeah, I played in college, And so they're like, well, can you help us? Because they didn't have the manpower that a football program has. So I ended up becoming a coach even while I was doing my graduate school, essentially my thesis track with them, and and became kind of the infield coach and the right-handed hitting coach because I didn't know anything about the pitching. I didn't know anything about slap hitting, but I could do middle infield and I could do some of the right-handed batting stuff. So stayed with them for the 2 years that I was there, and one of those years was pretty magical, winning a national championship and getting a ring out of the deal. But it was fun. It was a great time, and able to kind of grow my skill set a little bit because there was no baseball at Western Washington at the time. So that was kind of my spring opportunity to stay connected to baseball, softball.
That's fascinating. See, I never knew the whole story. Like I said, Janelle just shared that with me, and I'm like, that's so interesting how you were in softball as well. And yeah, I can get a ring out of that as well. I didn't know it was like kind of that. Tell us a little bit about, that studying with and what kind of drove your passion and made you stick with wanting to stay in coaching football. And here you are, like 25 plus years coaching.
Yeah. So when I got done with my time in graduate school, it was, all right, you need to get a job. And, the way to market yourself at that time at the smaller college level was to be able to do multiple sports, right? So, you were a football coach and maybe you were a track coach, or a football coach, or maybe you did basketball and you did tennis or something like that. So having that dual skill set was what got me a full-time job right away. At 25 years old, I got a full-time job as an offensive coordinator and a head baseball coach at an NAIA school in Kansas. So I was 25 years old. I didn't know, what I was getting myself into, and ended up doing both for a number of years, as a head baseball coach plus coaching on the football side. But, the decision to go just football was more about, the opportunities. There was more opportunities. There's maybe 1 to 2 coaches, on a baseball staff where, bigger football staffs you're looking at now, it's crazy. But even then it was 6 to 7, guys on a football staff. So the opportunities were better. And I was killing myself doing both sports. It was, there was long days of spring football practices and double headers going on at the same time, or, fall baseball practices and preparing for a football game all at the same time. So some long days in there where I was like, well, this is easy at 25, 26, but, I'm going to fall apart here pretty soon. So football became the one. And football, I think, is interesting, where I think you make more important decisions every play and every snap of the game. As a coordinator and calling plays for a long time, that has been, kind of the thing is like, I felt like I affected more change on game day in football than I did in baseball. Baseball is like, are you stealing? Are you doing a double switch? Are you hit and run? You make a few decisions, but usually what you're doing is building those guys up through practice and putting them out there in the game and letting them play for the most part. But I thought in football is like, wow, I think there's a chance to affect more change more often on a game day.
And were you just naturally always drawn to the offensive side of the ball, or did it just kind of happen that way at your time at Western Washington?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it kind of comes out of where your training was. So I did go in as a defensive player into college as a defensive back, and then kind of pivoted into the running back position. And then when I got into graduate school at Western Washington, it was on the offensive side. So I started, my first job was tight ends, running backs, and then kind of moved into coaching quarterbacks after that. But it was just been kind of that side of the ball for most of my playing career and most of my training through graduate school.
Yeah, see, that's always so fascinating, because even like when we're talking to Chef, he kind of almost like on accident found himself in special teams as well. Like, so it's always interesting to see how a lot of the coaches end up on what side of the ball that they do. And it seems like sometimes it's just by chance. Like you said, you played on the other side and now you coach the opposite side that you've been coaching for a long time. So take us through. So you have different offensive coordinator positions, and then you end up being the head coach at Central Washington. So tell us a little bit about how that change was from coordinator and now you are the head guy.
Well, I think it was, again, I had a little bit experience being a head baseball coach. I was a head baseball coach at St. Mary, and I was a head baseball coach at Minot State, for about 4 or 5 years there when I was really young. So I kind of had an idea of some of the stuff. But being a head coach at the Division II level at a program where football was king at Central Washington, that was kind of the main program on campus for boosters and alumni involvement and building stadiums and facilities and things like that came out of the football side of things. So that was, pretty fast, learning curve as far as trying to figure out, what needs to be done, how to deal with those things. But the biggest thing for us was we had 2 small kids, and we were in St. Cloud, Minnesota, and Janelle and I are both from Washington. So, that opportunity for taking a head job, not only getting to, take a step up from coordinating to the head position, but then also being able to take that closer to home was pretty exciting for us. We were only about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from grandparents and cousins and aunties and things like that. So it was a special opportunity. Had a great time there. It was a great place for our kids. Our kids were so young that when we were in Ellensburg for those 5 years, they feel like that's kind of the hometown. You know what I mean? Like that's where they grew up a little bit, or their first memories of growing up. So it's kind of fun to have that kind of be that home area. And but it was good to be back in Washington. But it was a challenge, and found our way to some success and had some good years, and got fortunate enough to coach some really good players.
And I'm glad you brought up your family, because that was our next topic with Janelle. And tell everyone about, by the way, she's the real Coach Chang. Her maiden name is Chang, so it's kind of the running joke. She's the real Coach Chang. Tell us a little bit about how you guys met. And another fun fact is that she does have strong Hawaii ties. So it's kind of fun that you guys could come back and now really see a lot of her family that has lived here, and uncle is a beach boy and everything. So tell us, go back and tell us a little bit about how you guys met, and her supporting you throughout your coaching journey.
Yeah, so Janelle's was a couple years older than me in college, and we met at Grinnell, which is kind of interesting. And the way we met was that some of the guys that I knew that were older on the football team or on the baseball team were like, "Hey, we know another person from Washington." Like, there's not a ton of people at Grinnell that are from the state of Washington. So the whole deal is like, "Oh, we know this. One of the gals we know is from Washington. We should introduce you." So we ended up meeting kind of through that, and then found out that we grew up 20 minutes apart and knew, really familiar people, like guys that I would play summer baseball with, she grew up with, and things like that. But, that we went all the way to Iowa to meet, and had grown up as close as we did, right around that Western Washington area was kind of wild. So that was the long story of how we met along the way. But it's been she's been with me ever since. So my freshman year in college all the way till now. So.
And you guys have two awesome kids, and Kai and Quinn. Tell us a little bit about them. And Kai, not a Seahawks fan though. He's a huge Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City Chiefs fan. Like I've seen with a lot of like the younger kids. Like I have another friend that he grew up a Chargers fan, and his son is by far Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City Chiefs fan. Like it doesn't even matter where their dads are. They're like, nope, Patrick Mahomes is like everyone's favorite right now.
Yeah, no, he grew up with a lot of Seahawks stuff, and has some jerseys, and had some Russell Wilson gear. He loves the quarterbacks, but Mahomes has kind of taken over the Kansas City Chiefs. So I always give him a hard time about being a front runner a little bit, but he's been enjoying the the new Netflix show Quarterback. He can't get enough of that, and he's been very excited to follow that. His Croc colors and his Gibbet selection all come out of that red and gold and Mahomes stuff. So but no, Kai and Quinn, it's been great to kind of lean into their a little bit of their Hawaiian heritage. My wife is part Chinese, part Hawaiian. Her dad grew up here and went to Farrington. Her brother Russell Chang still lives up here in Kalihi Valley. Went to Kamehameha, was an athlete, football track guy, and then has been on the beach and at the airport for a number of years. But it's pretty fun to have that kind of go and have auntie and uncle breakfast on the weekends, and being able to kind of lean into the heritage side of things. Kai even came over and did exploration with Kamehameha before we knew this was happening. That was so important for Janelle's father, especially, who grew up here, to be able to share that Kamehameha experience and the exploration experience with them. So now now we're here, and so those guys have really been enjoying it. Quinn's doing the hula, Kai's doing the football, baseball, all the sports, and band and all those different things. Just got done with the all-state middle school band he got selected for, and then we'll also kind of pivot into the Hawaii Youth Symphony as well going into the next year. Got selected for that as well. So pretty proud of those guys. And you can be down at the Kanikapila at the Reef on Friday night and see Quinn dancing her hula with all the aunties. So it's pretty fun to kind of see them really lean into the island and some of their heritage that way.
That's right. I always see the videos of Quinn doing her hula. She's like way better than I ever was at this point. So shout out Quinn and Kai. All right, we got to take a quick break and we'll come back to continue this conversation with our special in-studio guest, University of Hawaii football co-offensive coordinator and tight ends coach, Ian Shoemaker. We'll be right back on Wake Up in the Den.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ule Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. Let's Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ule Agbayani, Paul Brecht, and our special in-studio guest, University of Hawaii football co-offensive coordinator and tight ends coach, Ian Shoemaker. All right, we've been talking about your, time growing up in Washington and some of your family life. I do want to continue a little bit of the family life conversation, just because I love to give, the wives a lot of their credit. So, just talk to us about how much Janelle has followed you and supported you on this coaching journey. I know you had moved out here first. Again, I mentioned that earlier in the show that I met you first out of the new coaches that came in. And she brought the kids eventually, but she had to take care of everything where you guys were living there. So talk to us about how it's been like for you and your family, and especially having the kids that they're still young as well. So how has that all been going, and the transition from all the different coaching stops that you have been on?
Well, I think, obviously, Janelle taking care of all that stuff is, the most important thing. Feeling comfortable that all that stuff can be taken care of. And when Timmy called and said, hey, this is going to happen, being able to get on a flight, within that week and be here for the baseball fundraiser that we met at. But, like those things are so important. And, and being able to have that. And I said, she, as a teacher, was able to kind of be portable and provide my opportunity for, I said she kind of, helped me with my coaching habit for a lot of those years where her income was the one that was, holding us together. And she was able to go find a teaching job in this area and go to North Dakota or go to Ohio or go to Kansas and be able to, keep the income coming into where we could survive my coaching habit. And, and, we've been fortunate over the last couple stops where, now she's been able to, just kind of be at home and be with the kids. And, I know that doesn't always hold well because the kids are wild and crazy and out of control. But, that now, hopefully as they get a little bit older and she can, maybe get back into the classroom or get back into doing some things that she really wants to do that way. But no, it's crazy, especially this moving across the ocean was different. We've moved from, the Midwest to the West Coast. So we've moved all over the country, but with the two kids and, selling a house and downsizing enough to, bring it over in a couple of small boxes versus, being able to, what you would normally be able to move, through freight is completely different. So, taking a, the house size that we had in Cheney, Washington versus, what we were, in here on the island was difficult. And, she's a superstar. She takes care of all that stuff and makes it possible for me to concentrate on the coaching for sure.
Awesome. And then so that brings you here to Hawaii. Obviously spent some time at Eastern Washington, and we need to settle this score because you hear a lot of stuff or see a lot of stuff online. So I just feel like we have to ask it so everyone can hear it from you. Although, haters will still say it's not true, even though we hear it from the actual person involved in this situation. But how did that hiring process go? And true or false, did David Mallon hire you? If you guys have been online like a few months ago, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. But how did the hiring process go for you? And because I think a lot of people were thrown off because Timmy Chang's staff looked like it was a lot of people he was either tied to via the University of Hawaii or Nevada/Colorado State. And then you're coming over from Eastern Washington, and it was almost like a shock, like, oh, where did he come from? So people make up their own stories or whatnot. But just tell us about how you got connected with Timmy and how that process went.
Yeah, so we didn't know each other, personally prior, and was very fortunate to be coaching at Eastern and having one of the best quarterbacks in the country for 3 years straight and one of the best offenses in the country, during that time. So I had, talked to a number of different coaches throughout, and I think the connection came through a little bit of my agent, and then also through some of the stats and knowing some similar people across the profession. It's a small profession.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have worked for this guy or that guy, then there's connections that are made, and people call and ask, and it was kind of crazy. We were as a family going to Palm Springs, and that Friday he called to say he was going in to interview and if I'd be interested, and we did our little interview over the phone. And I was like, wow, I'm getting ready to move to Iowa. I was going to take a job in Iowa actually.
Oh.
And then things kind of pivoted really fast. So that whole week we were in Palm Springs when all the madness in the media was happening. And we had kind of done the interview, and he said, hey, I'm going to go in, and would you be interested? And yeah, I'd be very interested. And so that was kind of where it closed. And then all the other stuff, which everybody knows, happened during that week. And, at the end, I was like, well, I guess, probably just heading to Iowa, and then at the end of the week, things changed. And, we were, in Joshua Tree, doing hikes, hanging out with the family, splashing around in the pool, but all the while checking the internet and sending text messages and things like that. So, things kind of changed. And then that next Sunday, I got the call from, hey, it worked out. You still interested? You still want to do this? And all that is history now. So.
I have to still talk about that now. How is that for coaches that when you guys see a lot of this stuff? Because like pretty much all of you guys are on Twitter and are active, at least on Twitter. So how is that like seeing all of this stuff and like you just have to kind of chuckle to yourself and just, I don't know, like how does that work in in your coaching life, as much as you can share with us, of course?
Well, obviously it's, you don't control it, but it matters to your life, right? Like that's the thing, right? Like all those things that, are said in the media or on social media and things like that, as much as they can be neither here nor there, true or untrue, but realistically, they do at some level have an effect on the narrative, have an effect on your opportunity, so that whole week it was like, there's an opportunity maybe, right? And then during the week it was up and down throughout. And then at the end of the week it was, well, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And then, then the turn and the fast change. And now it's like, oh, wow, it is back. So, you don't control it, but it affects your life so much that you want to know, you want to stay, a little bit connected to what's happening.
Especially if you were planning to take another job.
Yeah, no, it was already kind of moving to, that was what the vacation was about. We were going to vacation quick 1 week before flying out of town. So,
gosh, that's so interesting. See, people, there you have it.
During this little stretch we've had of having coaches in, what I've picked up is Coach Timmy Chang is a phenomenal recruiter, not just for players, but also for coaches, because that's a similar story that we had on Friday, too, where it was like not cold feet, but also like, pretty late in the process with another job. And then Timmy's just been able to be like, hey, we got it here. Let's do it. And I mean, we've talked about it. It takes a lot of people pulling at the same rope, a lot of people feeling the same way to have a successful program. It's just cool to hear the story of how it all comes together,
Well, and just the fact that, as you mentioned, he already had called you or had that discussion before he officially got the job. So he was already planning, hey, if I get the job, then you're someone that I want to bring along with me. And obviously he gets hired, and a lot of people kind of don't understand the process. You have to go, agents have to talk to each other and all the contract stuff. So that's why it takes a little of some time after he actually officially gets named. But that's interesting that he reached out ahead of time and just, hey, this is going to happen or likely happen. And then we don't want to spend too much time reliving what happened during he got interviewed, but then other stuff is going on and we don't know what's going on. And then now he officially gets hired, and wow. I'm sorry. I don't think I've ever had this prolonged discussion about this topic with you, even like off air. So I'm just a little like fascinated, and just reliving that time in my mind as well, where social media is just going crazy because it's such a big deal. And I don't know. I mean, you've been a head coach, and you've also been at really, I guess, famous or well-known programs, especially at your previous stop. But have any of those places compared to the type of attention and like pure like fandom that is here in Hawaii?
No, I mean, I think obviously when you look at, even Eastern Washington and Central Washington, they're still playing second fiddle to the state universities, University of Washington, Washington State. That's the thing. And then they play back to the Seahawks as well, right? So in those areas, nothing compares to, this being the thing for the state and, state of Hawaii. And, we are the NFL team. We are the state university. We are a lot of what matters to a lot of the fans on the island is football matters. It's important here. You look at the high school games, you go to a Kahuku game, you go, the history of the St. Louis program and things like that. It matters here. The history of University of Hawaii football matters. And, that is why it's a fun place to coach and be a part of. But, like I said, those same issues with fandom turn into, negative things at times. And, we have to be able to ignore it, not think about it, and not, really engage it. And, once you are in the job, then, then you're just not thinking about those things. You're just trying to do the job for sure.
Especially this season, going into the second season now with under Timmy Chang, and a lot of the same coaching staff still remains. And we're looking forward to big things coming up as training camp starts on Wednesday already. But when we come back, we'll wrap up the show talking about University of Hawaii football as we are joined by co-offensive coordinator and tight ends coach Ian Shoemaker. We'll be right back on Wake Up in the Den.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ulei Agbayani, Paul Brecht, and Ian Shoemaker, the University of Hawaii football co-offensive coordinator and tight ends coach. All right, coach, now, just about 10 minutes left in the show as we spent a lot of time. Thank you for coming out, actually, spending a lot of time just getting to know you as what our other in-studio guests the last couple of days to end last week were about, because a lot of people just don't know some of the members on the staff that don't have the direct Hawaii ties, like, of course, head coach Timmy Chang does. So it's been fun kind of getting to know you. Again, I've known you for over a year now, and we've been talking about you coming on the show for a long time. So I'm glad we finally made this happen.
My fault mostly.
No, mine too. I didn't bug you guys. I think I bugged you a little bit, and then I just stopped bugging all of you guys, especially once I know the times where I'm like, okay, July, because that's what everyone kept telling me
Right.
last week, or no, that the alumni football thing at Buho was when I always talk to Matt Chan. He's like, July is the time that's when the coaches kind of have the complete month off. But I also didn't want to bother anyone on vacation, so I'm like, okay, when can I have all you guys come in? No, but it's been super fun. So now getting into a little bit of UH football talk, what has been, as much as you can share with us, obviously, what's kind of been the mentality for the staff now? Because I know there was kind of a surprise change that a lot of people, not a lot, but it was kind of shocking, where Timmy first came in and we did the whole spring game, the concert, made it really fun. And this year there was nothing, right? It was kind of, now it's just all business. So as much as you can share, just give us a little bit of an insight on what that coaching mentality is right now.
Yeah, no, it's, and Coach Chang says this all the time. This is about, turning the corner on year two. We got the culture in place. We got the kids comfortable. We've built up, the hopefully as much of the fan and alumni base and things like that. And now it's about, proof in the pudding, go out and find a way to win games and be competitive at the conference level and national level and keep moving things forward. So this season is about, production and wins and losses. And that's been, kind of the mandate from the top down is, we have to find a way to, take this culture and prove that this culture works, from a football standpoint and a game and winning standpoint.
And how has this, I guess, the excitement, maybe even that you get from the general public, that true commitment to the run and shoot?
No, I think everybody seems to be really excited about it. It's very interesting to me. It's something that is a little bit different than what I've grown up with from a coaching standpoint. But, I'm excited to get the ball up in the air. I'm excited to kind of see how we can meld some of the things that we were doing and did well last year with the run and shoot. And, the ball's going to be up and going.
We're definitely excited for all this stuff to come about.
It's going to be a fun season to see. Now, I look at, obviously, what you do, co-offensive coordinator, you work with the tight ends and whatnot, and as you look at the offense this year, is there anything that you see specifically as you looked back on last year? What specifically needed to be improved going into this year for the offense?
Well, I think when you look at most seasons, you look at, what your, how good are you on third down? How good are you in the red zone scoring touchdowns, right? And then, like I said, being, completion percentage, especially if you're going to be a high volume throwing operation. So, some of the things that we needed to make sure we were improving on was our, maturing that receiver group, route running and things like that, and catching the ball and making plays. And I think where we're growing right now is the maturity of that group. There were so many guys playing minutes when they were very young and their first opportunities to see some, college football and some competition. We didn't play very often with our top two receivers out there at the same time. Jonah Pinoke, and Zion didn't play together very often all season, which that was our hope that, 1 and 2 would go out there and play together. So there was a lot of guys getting opportunities it was new for them. So, now we hope that they're more comfortable with what we're doing. They're more comfortable with the system and the run and shoot and stuff like that. But also now just more comfortable in their body. Another year with Cody Cook in the weight room and another year catching balls together and running routes together and things like that. So we're hoping that maturity, moves forward that way. We're going to be, growing a little bit from an offensive line standpoint. We did lose some high end talented guys. I think Coach Rome does a great job with those guys up front, and they'll be ready to go. And I think we'll be better in the two deep than we were last year. I don't know if we'll be as good top end, with an and stuff like that at the top of our group. But, we will be better as an offensive line group overall. I see that coming forward. Tight end's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, with, losing what we lost there and what's coming back. But I'm excited to kind of see, where those guys go from a development standpoint. And then having, Tylen Hines back is exciting and looking forward to kind of seeing, different ways that we can use him in the system for sure. And then, like I said, the Shaker bomb, right? We got to go make plays.
That's
that's the thing, right? I saw a shirt, I think, but I don't know.
He does have his brand of the Shaker bomb. That's even what Coach Chef dropped last week Friday. It's you heard of Jaeger bombs, well, we got the Shaker bomb. So that's something we're looking forward to as well. And I say it I feel like a broken record, but it has to be said a lot, is that just for him as being a young player that he was, and now having going into the season knowing he is the guy and QB1 compared to the last couple of seasons where he's just kind of been in limbo, all right, am I going to even play this game? Maybe I'll go in for a little bit. Oh, okay, I'm starting now. But how important is that for not just Braden, but just in general with the young quarterbacks, just to know and have that really consistency and continuity?
Yeah, no, I think, builds confidence, the opportunity to make mistakes and not have to look over your shoulder, which was, our situation last year for sure. We were kind of searching and looking and trying to decide, is it going to be Joey? Is Jake going to get involved? Is Cam Cooper going to have a chance? And, trying to see what we had. We weren't sure until you get into some of those games to kind of see what those guys are actually able to do. So I think, having that flexibility now going into this season and the ability for him to that confidence that, hey, that's going to be the guy, that's who we're going to lean on, and don't worry about making mistakes, just go and make the next play, I think will definitely help. And I think that is something that'll be powerful for him, his mental makeup.
I'm excited.
I think this has been good because it's just nice to hear people who actually know the inner workings of the team kind of repeat what we've been thinking on this show, especially for the last month or so, where we've been talking about while we expect improvement in the football program, it's more so because of, like you mentioned, the comfort and familiarity with the system that they're in, and year two, and guys who have gotten actual experience playing on the football field. Because a lot of times, especially for people who are big into the NFL draft, and I know that's a total different level, but people who are big into the NFL draft, they talk a lot about how big playing time is and how big, getting those actual snap counts are in college before they get to the professional level. And I got to imagine it's very similar high school to college then, in that sense, where it's just the different speed of the game, and now they're going to be able to process it quicker. And it goes to your point about Braden, or Braden Shager, I should say, being the guy, being someone who's confident, who's able to sit in there and now really process and go and focus all his energy on the actual system. Am I wrong in that thought?
No, I think you're exactly right. And looking at that, most programs take the biggest leap in that year two. You know what I mean? As far as the biggest jump in improvement usually kind of happens in that year two. And we're kind of in that mode of kind of seeing it at PRPs or watching these guys working out and lifting and things like that, man, we are starting to see guys go from, do I know what route or do I know what I'm doing? And then now you need to catch the ball. Now you need to break a tackle and make a plus play and extend a play because of that confidence in their body and their understanding and their technique. all those things are hopefully going to take a a real positive step forward from the weight room to the technique to the playmaking ability, are all the things that we're most excited about moving forward. Is just all right. Let's get to these practices so we can kind of see what that growth was over the summer.
All right, we have just about 30 seconds ish left. So give you the final word, Coach.
Oh, the final word? Well, hey, come out and see us play. It's going to be exciting. The ball's going to be up in the air. Hopefully, we'll be throwing a bunch of shaker bombs around the stadium, all right? So come see us. Go Bows.
Season tickets on sale. Go Bows. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Also, mahalo to Savannah Ryer and Coach Thomas Sheffield for joining us last week. You can catch all of this on demand at hawaiisportsradio.com. For Paul Brecht, I'm Ku'ule Agbayani. For Coach Ian Shoemaker. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Mahalo for listening. It's been Wake Up in the Den. Bye.